Children are the future, and saving one child is like saving an entire humanity. Today, we're going on a virtual tour with our guests from El Khalil, Dura, Hebron, where we're going to learn and experience with her the day-to-day experiences and life of someone living in the occupied Palestinian territories. Our guest has dedicated the last few years of her life focusing on the betterment of tomorrow, working with children from the West Bank, as well as children in Gaza. I'm your host, Ibrahim.
And I'm your host, Amira.
And this is UTTN, the podcast.
Ahla sahla everybody, and welcome if you're new to another episode of this season. Today we're joined by another amazing Palestinian activist, Yara. كيف حالك Yara? How are you?
Good, all things considered, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, we're very grateful that you are here with us. And if any of you guys are watching this episode and not listening to the episode, you can see that this is not our studio, the new studio that we started to record season 2 in, but we're actually in Beit Jala at the moment in the occupied Palestinian territories because, as we said at the beginning of the season, we want to put an emphasis on Palestinian activists and in particular women activists. And particularly now in this current situation, people cannot enter into the Israeli territory. Permits are not available. Even in so-called normal times, permits are not easy to attain, and it's a whole hassle. And we believe that if we want to speak to people, we want to speak to our people, we need to go to where they are. We need to be there with them in their area where they live and understand their reality and what they're doing to change the place that they're in, not where we are at. And that's also very important. So we came all the way here with a long drive from the north all the way to Beit Jala. And
A few words. We're not the only ones that came a long way. Yara also came a very, very long way with all the closures of all exits from all the way in Hebron. And we're just going to jump right into the first segment. So the first segment is basically where we ask our guests, who are you? And the way we bring it is that we ask 3 times and our guest answers each time with 1 word. After that, we dissect. Yara, who are you?
I'm a sister.
Okay. I'm going to ask you again. Who are you, Yara?
I'm a caregiver.
And if I want to ask you one last time, who's Yara?
Resilient.
Okay. We always put like a disclaimer in this segment that these are only mere parts of who we are. It is the parts that came up during this interview. We know that all the activists that we interview are way more than just 3 boxes or 3 words. But we also wanted our guests to choose the boxes that present them before we get into what do they do and what their story is. So you chose 3 things: sister, caregiver, and resilient. This is the second time resilient has come up. So how about you tell us, where would you like to start?
is there a specific reason for the order?
Yes, starting with a sister because it's, I think, the biggest part of my identity. I have 4 younger siblings. We lost the youngest last year. And I believe that being their oldest sister has shaped who I am as a human being in many ways. And when you first asked me that question, it took me a long time to figure out an answer because I don't believe that I have one identity or that my identity can be summarized into 3 words. It's as if there's multiple identities throughout growing up and becoming who I am, but none of them is whole in many ways. And that's because we've gone through many different things as as a sister, as a caregiver, and as a resilient person, as all Palestinians are, I think. We go through different phases of life under occupation where we have to change our identity and shape it and adapt to the new challenge that the occupation presents to us. But none of those identities has time or space to grow and become whole. I feel that there's always going to be a part of my identity missing because it's caged. And all the experiences that have helped shape me have been, in a way, limited by life under occupation, even if I'm in Palestine or outside of it.
Can I ask what the difference between a sister and a caregiver is? Because you chose both of them.
Being a sister, for me, is an opportunity to be a role model to these younger siblings, I don't want to say pave the way for them, but face challenges that I have not yet faced and make sure that I'm there to help them when they face them as well. They're my pride and joy. Being an oldest sister, they're in a way my babies, especially the youngest two. And they have helped me feel what it would be like to be a parent or close to a parent figure. And being a caregiver is specifically in relation to my youngest brother. He suffered all his life from osteogenesis imperfecta, and he fought so hard, and he was so resilient. That's one thing I learned from him, to be strong and resilient. And being one of his caregivers honestly has been the greatest honor of my life and the greatest learning experience from my life. And there's a difference because being a caregiver and everything I learned caring for him now extends to everyone else because he's no longer there and I can't give him that. I want to give it to all of the children in Gaza right now that I'm working with, and to all of the children in the West Bank, and to any child who needs caregiving, who no longer has their parents or their caregivers with them. And that's one of the core parts of my identity, I think.
Allah yarhamu, first of all.
Taish, thank you.
Yeah, it's just all these things somehow tie together, and also resilience. You mentioned that he taught you what is it to be resilient, and how does that, from learning that from him, how does it reflect in your life today? That resiliency that you've gained or strengthened, maybe, because as you said, Palestinians.
We are. I think it's a hazard of being a Palestinian and living in Palestine to be resilient. What I learned from my brother especially is that if you want to live and you want to enjoy life and you want to take everything you want from it, you will always find a way. And he did for a very long time. He fought and he got everything he wanted from life, and we tried to help him with that. And I keep thinking about it and what I learned from him, especially at checkpoints these days when we are forced to wait for hours. And it feels like it's so difficult to get from point A to point B that sometimes you start questioning, is it worth it or not? Is it worth it for me to go to Ramallah and wait 3 hours at the checkpoint to go in and see my friends or go for a job interview? Is it worth it to wait in this suffocating traffic? But then when I think about it, yes, it's worth it. Not because the place I'm going to is a heaven, but it's because I have the right to go to that place, and no one has the right to stop me from moving freely within what is supposed to be my home. So I want that from life. I want freedom of movement, and I want to be able to breathe and feel that if I wanted to enjoy life, I could. And that's why I think that part of resilience translates into action, into you're going to make me wait, I'll wait. And I'll learn patience because this is my right and you're not going to stop me. If you make it hard for me, then I'll learn to be tougher and I'll continue doing it. And it's not because we love suffering or we want to suffer or there's some type of gain at the end of the world and the life and whatnot. It's because it's simple. It's my life and I want to live it and I have the right to live it. So you're going to give it to me and you're going to end the occupation and you're going to let me breathe, or I will take it and I will continue to be as patient and as resilient as it takes.
So you're the eldest sister in a family of, how many siblings do you have?
4.
4. Girls, boys? What's the
3
age
boys,
difference?
1 girl. Mohammed is a year younger than me. Mudar is 3 years younger. And then Haddoush and Ayus, Allah yarhamu, are 7 and 8 years apart from me.
And where does this family live?
We live in Dura. These days, when I think of Dura, I only think of the yellow gate at the entrance. But before I remembered, I used to think of all the schools, the kids flooding the streets in the morning and after school, the Eid and Ramadan preparations and the streets being full of goods and people being happy and enjoying their time. Now I think of the time when the army comes, the streets looking empty or people scrambling to close the shops and get out of the soldiers' way, or else suffer the wrath. And of the time when kids go to school in the morning and the army comes and the children are in the road while the army is there, and how terrifying that is, and how I once had to run outside and pluck my cousin from the street because I heard a sound bomb going off, and she was outside, she was playing and she was enjoying her time, before going to kindergarten in the morning, and she screamed at me because she didn't understand why I ran outside and got her. And so, Dura is a great place. It's a very resilient place, but it's also a place that's suffering, where there should be no suffering.
Fun fact for our listeners, or not so fun fact, but a fact. Yes. Yara and I are from the same place. Not Dura, but Hebron specifically, Al-Khalil. Both of us are we the same age? I think we are.
We are. I'm 26.
I'm 26. And both of us are from Al-Khalil, Hebron. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that the resilience part, it also births a lot of resilient women, specifically in many different ways, how you can look at it, not just from a Palestinian resilient, but a woman that is resilient on how they raise their children. Also men there are very, very difficult. So without trying, the women will become resilient. But the only difference between you and I is where our parents decided to be at a certain point of time, whether it was 48 or 67. And that's the separation that made, instead of me being where you live, my parents ended up in Jerusalem. And another fact about people from Hebron is that there's this saying in Arabic, وين ما تلف وجهك في خليلي, wherever you turn your face, you'll find somebody from Hebron. And that doesn't just apply to Palestine, but applies internationally.
That's true.
Do you wanna?
I'm currently listening to you guys talking about your experience in Dura. I'm happy to hear, and also wanting to know like more about your, I'm assuming also some of our audience are going to be curious to know your what's a normal day
Mm.
and what you know to be normal.
What
I think it's important that normal is a very different, like it's a very subjective thing. It's not objective, I think. Because what we perceive as normal is different than somebody else perceives as normal. What's your normal?
That's true. What I know as normal is not what everybody else knows. What's normal is today is I'm supposed to be here for the recording of this episode at 12. Bidjala is 35, 40 minutes if you're driving like an old lady away from Dura. And you know how long it took me to get here? It took me an hour and a half. And that 1 hour was spent trying to find a gate in Dura or in Hebron that's open to the 60 road so that I can come here. It took me 1 hour of driving to different gates around the city because we do have WhatsApp groups and applications where it says one gate is open and one gate is closed, but it's not always predictable or correct.
And it's important to note that we're not talking about the security gate of the community or something that it's, built by the community or anything like that. We're talking about military checkpoints.
Yes.
That can be opened, closed without any updates to the civilians living there. You only can try to figure it out through WhatsApp and Telegram groups where people who have gone would tell you if it's open or not, to just figure it out every time.
Exactly. And it makes just the idea of leaving Dura, of going out, so exhausting. Just the thought of it. And I was talking about it the other day with my aunt and my mom, and they said back in the day when they lived through Intifada in Oslo, they called this the siege mentality. The fact that everything around you is closed. The army is giving you a curfew. We don't have curfew these days yet, but you're conditioned to think a certain way and to feel a certain way by everything that's being done to you, so that merely the idea of going outside becomes so exhausting. 2 years ago, I used to take my siblings every week for a weekend brunch in Battir near Bejala in Bethlehem. Sometimes we'd go to Ramallah because access was easier. It was never easy. And you could just, like in the States, drive from California to Arizona and back. It was always difficult, but it hasn't been this suffocating. Versus today, every time I'm at a checkpoint, I just keep thinking of, or even when I think about leaving the city I'm in, I just keep thinking back to George Floyd and his screams, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." This is it's what I feel when I think about leaving, or when I see the ridiculously bright yellow gate that's stopping me from leaving, the wall, the soldiers at the checkpoints, who are, by the way, in many cases are teenagers with machine guns and very little training, who don't, in many cases, speak Arabic. So, normal today is checkpoints, closures, and that's just on a logistical level, not to mention economical level, because many people, the vast majority of the West Bank's income was coming from people who worked in Israel, from Palestinians who worked in Israel. And now, for the past 2 years, none of them have been able to go and work and get a paycheck. And that has shows in the West Bank, in the economy, in the families that can barely eat today, in the parents who can barely send their kids to school or to college. So it's logistical, it's economic, it's social, because when you cage hundreds of thousands of people together and you limit their movements and you limit the amount of food and water and gas that goes to them, how do you think they're going to act? For the first few days, everyone's patient and kind and understanding, and they help each other. But when it's over 2 years, everyone are going to start thinking about themselves and how they can survive this.
The survival mechanism kicks in.
Exactly.
And it's either my kids who will eat tonight or my neighbor's kids who will eat tonight.
And alhamdulillah, it's not to that point yet. But I've seen people who have so much dignity and who have been working very good jobs and who are teachers and educators and lawyers and prominent figures in the community trying to lend money or loan money to buy food for their kids or to send them to school, because there's no other way. And a lot of people don't want to ask each other for money, because if you don't have money, your neighbor doesn't have money. It's not just a specific case. It's not someone has lost their job and we need to help them. We've all lost one way or another, one thing or the other. And it's not sustainable to live like this. People are now thinking once they're done with Gaza, they're going to turn on us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go through that, except it's going to be different and unpredictable in brutality and in the way that they're going to do it. Because we're surrounded by settlements. Who knows how that's going to look like? So when you're in the midst of being caged and suffocated, and then you think, but it's also going to get worse. What am I going to do? And there's no way out.
So on this point, we're recording this episode post the declaration in the UN of countries recognizing the state of Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm assuming not many things changed for the best within the span of mere days since the recognition. The only one thing we saw actually this morning or last night was a video from a guy from Al Khalil, from Hebron, who is like recording himself in front of the checkpoint, and he's sending a message to the UN and saying, listen, don't recognize. With every recognition of a country, we're getting 3 checkpoints. What is this recognition helping? It's just mere words, and what I get on the ground is just worse, not better. My question is, do you predict it, at least, that will have any positive impact on your life, on the life of a Palestinian living in the West Bank? Or is it just empty words?
I have so many things to say about that.
Please.
I'll try to
We're on a
make it
podcast, so
for
you
you.
can tell us.
I saw that video. I shared it. I like it. It very much
laughed.
very much represents me.
Also, plus context, people from Hebron have a very specific accent.
They
Very
stretch
specific.
the end of the word. It's really funny.
Yeah. So I totally get where that guy's coming from. I lived through it today. When it comes to big countries like Canada and the UK and I don't know who else. France,
Spain, Italy.
Spain. We love Spain. But the other countries and recognizing Palestine, the first thought that came to my mind was, we don't need you to recognize us. We have existed for hundreds of years, and we will continue to exist whether you recognize us or not. And this is about a little bit over 7 decades late, but I'm sure there's a limit to the saying better late than never in this case.
Even when we had, proposed Oslo, like nobody recognized the state of Palestine 30 years ago, 20 years ago, when things were actually, people are talking about what do we do 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Where were you? Why are we doing this? Why are countries doing it
Plus the
30
context.
plus years later? Like, are you serious? Like, why didn't it happen when actually there were talks?
It's like the carrot and stick analogy. It's like we hit you, اضرب كف عدل طاقية. It's like you smack and then you fix the hat. Like in the context of what is going on and the atrocities and the death toll and the starvation, the forced starvation, like all of these things, your solution is like to shut us up, is to recognize us.
It's the same mentality behind giving Israel billions of dollars in military aid and dropping aid from the sky on Gaza that kills people. This is, in my perspective, almost the same mentality, because we don't need you to recognize us. We've been existing. This is not what we need. What we need is you to restrict military aid, to propose sanctions, to stop the killing and the famine of the people in Gaza, to take concrete action that does not translate into more suffering for us on the ground. Not big words and nice gestures, because Palestine is not just a piece of land. It's not the frame of a state. It's not Jerusalem and Jenin and Nablus and Khalil. We are Palestine. Palestine is the people who are not just in the Palestinian territories and in the occupied, or the what we call the 48, or the inside of Israel, or they're not the Palestinian Israelis. It's everywhere. We are everywhere. And they're banning our flag here on our land and our homes, but it's being raised all over the world by vast groups of different people. It's not that we needed this. What we need is not words, not hollow recognitions, but action on the ground. Save the lives of children in Gaza. Send aid to Gaza, end the famine, end the killing and the massacres and the genocide. Free the Palestinian hostages that have been rotting in Israeli prisons for decades, most of them with no charges. Over 10,000 Palestinian hostages, and I refuse to use the word prisoner because many of them don't even have charges against them. Recognition is meaningless unless it's followed by concrete action on the ground. So if that recognition translates into 3 more gates to every Palestinian city and less gas, like we've been seeing for the past week, and less water, then, not to mention what's happening in Gaza and the closure of the only crossing between Palestine and the outside world, and the crossing of Jordan. Then what does it mean? What does it change? What does it do for us?
And it's not just from 2 years. It's been decades on end. And it's the word that you said, that, putting restrictions or maybe conditional relationship. You can't be, just like with any country in the world, like it doesn't make sense. You cannot just, have friendship with someone. They do something that you disagree with, and you just, every time you shut an eye and you continue to support them. Particularly when we talk, for instance, about the US and Europe, when their official statement has been for decades, we are for 2-state solutions. And every time Israel builds another settlement, which is done in order to prevent this solution that you advocate for, you just write a sentence, we condemn the Israeli government for blood. Shit. What is that going to do that you're saying we can? And you continue to support it militarily. You're not even using the leverage that you have to prevent the state from continuing to harm and to go against what you want. Like it just, by the way, that's the same thing with the Palestinian Authority. Continued support to the authority, at the same time, activists on the ground, when they speak against the corruption of the authority, they get eliminated and nobody does anything. And they continue to receive funding, support, and they stay in their comfortable seats, rotten in them, 70-plus-year-old, and nobody gives a shit. Like, how is things going to change if nobody's going to put pressure on these people who are sitting there holding the keys and not budging without the world to aid us in it.
Empty recognition and empty condemnation. Like it's all at
Exactly.
the end of the day, it's just like actions that aren't really actions. It's just there's a lot of people talking about performative activism versus like symbolic. This isn't even symbolic. This is performative. This is like just so the history knows that my country did 1, 2, 3 when XYZ was happening. But I know this is just the beginning of the episode and it's going like very down. So I want to like lift it a little bit. Let's say in Yara's land, Yara's world. What are things that you think, like you said that the occupation limits any kind of growth, even though the growth that you have, it limits it, even the opportunities that you have, it limits it. What are the things, the opportunities that in an ideal, not even an ideal, in an actual normal world where we are free and everybody on this land is free, what are those areas that for Yara you would want to explore, or things that make you happy? I don't want to tell you hope. That's not my question. I'm telling you what makes you happy.
I don't think I know anymore.
That could be the answer as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of the last time I felt happy and safe in that happiness, because here it's hard to feel happy and safe at the same time, or safe in that happiness. You know, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the next invasion or the next gate or the next news coming out from Gaza, or even before that. I remember a time when I was happy in my life, trying to build a career, thinking that being a peace activist is the right thing to do, and advocating for peace and mutual work and partnership was the way forward. And even long before October 2023, I was there and I was doing all of that, and I was thinking, this could go somewhere. I could build something from this. And then I got the news that one of my deeply beloved friends was killed during a raid on his hometown.
In Hebron?
In near Ramallah. A friend from college. And I remember that was the moment when I said, okay, the shoe now dropped. I was doing everything I can to make sure that I'm building a better future or a path forward with people who I thought are true partners, and we were in this together. And then that happened, something that has deeply changed my life and who I am as a person, and such profound loss was considered another day tragic event in the lives of people that I thought were my partners, in the world that I was building. Something that shattered my world as a person was something almost insignificant to others. And that has taught me that there is no true way to be happy and secure in that happiness as long as there is occupation and there's injustice and there's no equality. If I were to say what would make me happy, truly happy, would be to see my siblings happy, traveling, moving freely, studying in schools where they want, to see people, to feel that sense of ease again in the air, not that we're all waiting for something bad to happen, to just be safe and normal. And, the very basic things that any other human being in, I don't know, New York or Chicago or Paris would think about, would take for granted.
And what changed? Like you said that you were doing everything that you could. So in order to move, to ask you, what do you do right now? Can you tell us before we move to the second segment where we ask you, what do you do right now? Can you tell us what changed?
What changed is,
like, I understood the reason, but how did it like change you?
For a long time, I believed in what I was doing and I stood by it. And I wanted to do it from a place of equality and partnership and conviction. But life has shown me that does not translate into actual changes on the ground. That I will continue to be less than, to be not equal, to have less rights, and that would just be considered as something to work on. And so what changed is that I just cannot find it in myself to tolerate that anymore. I always felt that in order for me to be a partner, that I had to show that I was deserving enough, that I was human enough, that I'm good. To prove that I, as a human being, deserved the same rights as any other human being. And I was sick of it. I don't have to do that. I am entitled to those rights. I am human enough. And I don't need to prove it to the other for them to bring their walls down and start working with me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems of what is so-called the peace camp on this land, is that a lot of, inner dialogue, a lot of inside this tiny little box of people that you don't see flourishing and things changing practically on the ground. This dialogue, will it remove a checkpoint? It will not. So why are we doing this? Continuing the same dialogue within the same people who, like, they've already heard us 1,000 times. We're not changing them, and they're not changing their own society. So what are we doing with that? And
it's also that there's only one or two chairs for whoever is going to be in that room. Yes, they need Palestinians, but it's not that they need a majority or even sometimes half. They just need to check the boxes of Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, 48.
If we have one of each, we're good.
Yeah, and they don't even, and some of them don't care if it's men, equal, women, whatever, young, old. Don't care what they believe in, where they come from, what kind, like who comes from a city, who comes from a village, who had the opportunity to travel, who doesn't, not into consideration. So it ends up being that even we would see each other as like it's either you on the table or me at the table, and that's how like the organizations work. Like we want enough, we want Palestinians just enough for us to qualify to be a quote unquote Palestinian peace. Quote unquote peace organization. And that turns into tokenization. So I resonate so much with what you're saying right now.
And in true partnership, you're not supposed to be proving yourself that you're a partner again and again. The fact that I'm in the room, you're in the room, we're both willing, knowing what we're about to tackle or what we want to change, that means we're partners. Why do I need to prove it now? I'm already here. I made the physical effort to come and to be here. Why are you still skeptical? And it's not the way to form partnerships.
No, it's also the lack of realization that equality for the privileged or for the oppressor is going to feel like oppression. And I think that that needs to register. that needs to register is that it's not that I need to climb up. You're going to have to come down in order for us to be equal, because your
To where you
privilege
put
is
me.
my oppression.
You have to come down to where you put me.
Yeah.
And then we'll go up together. But there are some great people within that field, and they have been doing impactful work, but it's not enough anymore. It hasn't been enough, and it's definitely not enough now. And even the word peace itself just makes me pause and think, do I even know what that is? What that looks like? What that feels like? I thought I did for a time, and now I don't. The word itself just makes me think, what is this?
Yeah, I guess the that kind of work that we're talking about, or the path that we've taken, it's not that it's useless. It's that it's less powerful alone, and we need more on the ground work, or concrete things that actually improve the lives of the people, which I think is an amazing way to segue to the next segment, where we ask you, what are you doing on the ground? We'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon community. Without you, UTTN wouldn't be where we are today, and we wouldn't be able to shed light on the important activism and co-resistance happening on the ground. So if you'd like to be part of the change, go to patreon.com/thirdnarrative, where you'll get exclusive content from Ibrahim and I, and monthly Zoom sessions.
Yeah, for this segment, we ask each of our guests basically to understand what exactly they do as activists, or as people who are active on the ground, and to understand the reality and what they go through and what they do. And we want to know about your work. And one of the things that resonated from listening to also prior things that you've done and said in the past was that what matters to you is to work with something that has tangible effects, which I think ties to what you just said in the previous segment about the concept of being part of doing peace activism, and then realizing this is not helpful. This is not it. It's not it. So what is it? And I totally understand, where you come from, in the sense of talking all day doesn't help. I need to be where things are happening. So what are you doing today, Yara?
I am taking action today. I am taking action on the ground, directly supporting the people who are most affected by what we're living through today. And it all circles back to what I learned from my brother as a caregiver. Today, I'm working with orphan children in Gaza, with the Gaza Children Village, and volunteering with Wallah We Can, two different organizations that are focused on what should be the most precious thing to us all, children, their well-being, their safety, their healing, and their space to grow and prosper as human beings. And so I began as a volunteer with Wallah We Can, working in the West Bank, renovating schools for children and young students. And through that, I learned about the Gaza Children Village and the work that they're doing, and we connected, and I started working with them full-time.
As the
Deputy Executive Director for the villages in Gaza. In Gaza, there's one in Deir al-Balah that's hosting 600 children right now. There's another that's opening on the 1st of October 2025 for 1,500 children, orphan children in Gaza. And we're also hoping to expand to other areas of Gaza. And I feel that what I'm doing right now is still not enough, because if we look at it, it could be considered as humanitarian aid. But then what's after? What comes next on the big scale of things? today we're supporting children, we're giving them a safe place, we're giving them food, we're giving them an opportunity to learn and study. But what kind of world are they going to go out into afterwards? What kind of life are they going to live once they leave this village, this safe haven in the middle of Gaza? What are they going to see? What are they going to do? And so, for me, this is good. This is impactful, and I'm helping, and I am doing everything I can to protect these children, but it's still not enough because, we talked about recognitions. That's policy work. That's important work that comes after that. We take care of the people on the ground, and then the people in positions of power should focus their time on creating a better future for them on a political level. Because you can put a band-aid on a gaping wound, but it'll still bleed. So it's not one work is better than the other, one field is more impactful than the other. It's that we complement each other through the work we do. Exactly. Some is more urgent, some is more crucial.
And it changes with the times.
Exactly. But we need to continue working together to complement each other's work, because otherwise, okay, we did this today and we healed this wound, let's say. 5 years from now, it's going to explode again and it's going to infect, or we need a sustainable path forward. And I believe what I'm doing right now with the Gaza Children Village and Wallah We Can is a first step towards that. Because if we invest in children and if we protect the children, then we have a chance at a better future. Those are the foundations of a Palestinian state, an Israeli state, a Honolulu state, or whatever. Children are the foundation. And if we protect them, then we protect the future.
Just to for our listeners, for it to be, just to make sure that it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
Can you differentiate, can you tell us what is the Gaza Children's Village and what is Wallah We Can, and how their work complements each other? Or what do they do? Choose one, start with it, say what it is, and then the other.
Mm-hmm. So Wallah We Can is a Tunisian French organization that was established in 2012, and they've been focused on improving the educational environment for children in marginalized... 12, yes.
Okay, interesting. So basically after the Arab Spring.
Exactly, that was the point. And it focuses on improving the educational environment for vulnerable children in marginalized communities in Tunisia. And they have a sustainable model, a green school model, where parents work in the land and they farm it, they sell the fruit and the vegetables, and that goes as revenue to the school so that it can maintain itself. And children are provided with all types of services there: hygiene, education, a place to sleep. So they were, of course, witnessing what was happening in Gaza and in Palestine in general, and they decided that they were not going to post about it on social media. They were not going to just talk about it, but they will also take action. And that's what drew me to them the most, is that you don't talk, you don't advertise, you take action, and then you let your action speak for you and what you do. So I connected with them. I connected them with the municipality of Dura. We renovated a school in Dura that is now a school for over 700 children. We renovated a kindergarten in Silwan in East Jerusalem with Gaza Children Village, where we are supporting children, orphaned children in Gaza with not just education, but also healthcare, psychosocial support, 2 hot meals a day, and we're hoping to expand. We are currently in the process of looking at options to expand in different places in Gaza. The demand is, as you can imagine, very high. The vulnerable children and the orphan children are sadly increasing by the day, and their suffering is not being alleviated. It's not becoming less. It's the opposite. So for now, I'm choosing to work with these two organizations because of the impact they have on the ground. I'm not making these children's lives better under the occupation or while being killed. I'm giving them a nut bar. I'm supporting them to stay alive and to sustain them and to give them an opportunity to heal for the day after, because one way or another, there will be a day after. And organizations like these that take action on the ground right now matter so much. And that's where I choose to have my time and my effort placed.
And as you said, as you said before, that we all need to be doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same time, you can't, in the same time, focus on the here and now and the needs of these children and look at how do I develop and evolve the day after. Somebody's got to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm doing the here and now, somebody else has got to be focusing and looking at what comes next. What is the next step of helping the kids in this so-called day after? What's going to happen then? We're doing the immediate now, and this is such a crucial work, but this also opens another void of
Exactly
what's going to happen after that. Who's going to take care of them? We're helping right now. How can we ensure sustainability?
I believe that's where the role of true equal partnership comes in, because there are so many people working right now on the ground from every single background you can imagine, and their sole focus is these children, their lives and their protection. And they're not just working on the ground with immediate humanitarian aid, but also building systems for the day after. And some of them, from different backgrounds, truly believe that this way they can ensure the safety of their own children in the future. And those are the partners that I believe. And those are the people that I want to work with. Because it's not a zero-sum approach, and it's not their safety or ours. It's if we're all safe on one side, then everyone on the other side is safe. The kind of partnership that I believe we should work on. Not just one that is on a policy level, not one that is just advocate, but one that practices what we preach. A partnership that is translated into immediate action on the ground, but also that is sustainable and thinks long term.
And I think we're going to expand on this particular point when we get to the needs section, because I think it ties it very well. But for now, I want to go back a little bit to the actual work right now. How are you able to do this? How do we get humanitarian aid, medicine, food, social workers, psychologists, therapists? How are you able to create this children's village physically, practically? Like, how's that even happen? How are you able to?
I think the answer to that comes in on two different levels. Personally, I'm able to do this, I think, at a great cost to my emotional well-being in many ways, because every day I see the pictures of those children. I hear their messages. Sometimes we have arts and crafts activities for them where so far every single child that I have seen has drawn drew a picture of their home and saying that they wish to go back. Some of them drew pictures of their parents saying that their parents are now together in heaven and they're just left here alone. It's those pictures that kill a part of me every day, but also give me the strength that I need to continue working with this. And it's also because, there's a saying, it takes a village, and it does. In this case, this village takes a village. As I've mentioned, we have good visibility so far, and it can be better. We need more people to see and hear and learn about what we do. We have true partners on the ground working day and night. Most of them have their own separate jobs and they just work to support these children, to make sure that aid gets in, that food goes to these children every day, twice a day, that they get the healthcare they need, the equipment, the vaccine that they need. It's multiple groups of people, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but one mutual goal. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work and procedures and convincing and just personal sacrifice. Some of the people I work with right now are sacrificing their personal time with their families, their own money, their mental well-being and their emotional well-being by dealing with everything we do, but they do believe that it's worth it.
Do you have actual people in Gaza, like a team working?
Yes, we have different teams. We have teams that are doing the construction. It's a camp-like structure, tents. They're divided in two sections. Some parts are classrooms, other parts are healthcare points, a recreational space for the children. That's usually a big tent where they can all sit and play or do arts and crafts. One for the psychological support, and a space with a psychologist where they can learn to deal with the trauma that they have faced and that they are facing. And then a community kitchen where they get 2 meals a day, where, we either cook or we have food brought over in cooperation with the World Central Kitchen and given to these children. It's kind of like a beehive, different parts, but they're all coming together beautifully. We have medical teams to work with the children, educators, construction workers, and it has been applied successfully in Deir al-Balah. That started with 500 children, now is 600 children. And we've taken that model, expanded it to accommodate more children, and it's going to open for 1,500 children in Khan Yunis on the 1st of October. And we're going to go from there to more and more villages, as many as we can provide and as many as the children need.
Anything else that you want to add, maybe on other parts of your activism, other things that you're doing on the ground, maybe in your own community?
I try to always make a point that I'm not doing this because I want to feel good about myself. I'm not doing this because I feel guilty. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I would rather pay the cost emotionally and personally than be helpless and not do anything. And I think that's what makes me feel good about myself in a way, is that I take action despite the cost, despite the pain that it causes. And I'm not alone in it. In those spaces, there are people who are doing the same. And it feels so refreshing to be aligned with a group of people, regardless of where you come from, what's your belief, to be with these people who are going to do everything they can in their power to protect and give these children a fighting chance at life.
I think this is a full circle moment of when I asked you what gives you a little bit of happiness. So I'm happy that at least you you answered a little bit of that question, even if it's in context of everything. But I think it's a good spot to move to the third and final segment, which is the needs, where we ask every single guest, what do you need? And I'm going to let's try and separate it into places, because I think it's a loaded question to ask you. Allah, what do you need, Yara, right now? Just to reiterate, the reason why we ask this question is that we're always supposed to look at things as what's the solution, Yara? What do we do? How do we solve it? And it's supposed to be kind of like draw the line. What do you give them, and what do you get? What are you compromising on? And sometimes we forget, like it's very dehumanizing to ask that questions. We're not a pile of rocks that you take and you throw somewhere. So we decided this season to ask people, what are the needs of the people? So I want to ask you as maybe I'll ask you, where do you want to take it? You can answer, and then we'll direct it towards a specific direction. As Yara, as a Palestinian woman, as a sister, as a caregiver, as the volunteer with Wallah We Can and the deputy executive director of the Gaza Children's Village, what do you need?
I like the way you put the question, because usually it's, as you said, a solution or a call to action, or, but what I need. I don't want to say I've never been asked this question before, but it does give me pause, especially during this time, because my immediate instinct is not to think of what I need, but it's what I can give to everyone around me. I think as Yara, as a sister, as a caregiver, the first thing that I need is to know that everyone around me is safe and sound and protected, and that they are living their lives to thrive, not to survive. And I think if I just have that, I could do anything in the world, and I could just relax finally. But on an action-oriented level, I think what we need right now can be divided into what the West Bank needs, what Jerusalem and the 48 need, what Gaza needs right now. But it all comes to, I think, when I think about it, the first thing is we need the world to witness and to listen and to learn, not just stick to the old narratives, to the propaganda, to the stories that they hear, but to actually pick up the phone or the laptop or open the news and see with open eyes and ears and hearts what is going on, what has been going on, because this is not a vacuum in time. We need people to understand why this is happening today, where is it coming from, what has led to this, and how do we get out of it? Because in a way, the entire world contributed to where we are today, to getting us to where we are today, whether it's with military aid to Israel, whether it's with elevating one narrative over the other. In many ways, where we are right now has been a collective effort, and to reverse that, we need a collective effort. So learning, witnessing, understanding is a first and a must for you to be able to take informed action afterwards and to do what you want to do with conviction. You need to learn and to understand. And then we need pressure on governments. People have power, and I do believe in that. Sometimes I look at the protests around the world and the calls to action and everything that's happening, and I feel it's impacting us on the ground very little. But over there in every other part of the world, it's big and it has an impact. And change takes time. And it's occasionally very painful in our case. But it has to happen. So, informed political decisions, pressure on governments and people who are in positions of power, who have more of a say about my daily life and yours than we do. We need them to be courageous and to act not just in what serves their own interests and whoever's lobbying them to do it, but what serves us as human beings, because they're contributing to where we are today. And of course, to support every person doing work on the ground, whether it is to witness them, to talk to them, to amplify their voice, to donate to their causes. That's what we need. So learn, understand, and then talk, but always finish that with action. And everyone has the liberty to choose however they want to support us.
So I think that question also, like, or that answer can be given to both the international community as well as the Israeli side. So I'll add the other angle of what do you need from other Palestinians? Or maybe in your own reality in Dura or in your activism. I can tell you that, we're both alumni of the same program, the YES program, which brought students from across the Middle East to go study in the US for 1 year in high school. And it was basically it was a cultural exchange between us going there and the American host families we lived with. But it was also the first time all these kids at the age of 16 meet in Washington, D.C., and you meet kids from Lebanon and from Syria and from Iraq and from Morocco and places you've never met people from before. And maybe some of our listeners might be surprised. For me personally, it was the first time I met somebody from the West Bank, really. And someone who lives in Gaza. I've never met someone who lived in Gaza.
Likewise.
So how was that? And I'm curious about that interaction in terms of getting to know the other faces of Palestinian people and how that from the first initial meeting to today, what's my role as Palestinian citizen of Israel or from East Jerusalem or from anywhere else, Palestinian diaspora? What can we do in our different realities?
For me, it was also the first time meeting a Palestinian from Jerusalem or Gaza. And I felt deprived of that connection. Why can't I meet Amira in, kindergarten or elementary school or, in a cafe in Dura or Hebron? Why can't I meet her in Jerusalem or anywhere else?
Or come visit me in Nazareth.
Or visit you in Nazareth. We are divided from the start and taught to see each other in different classes or perspectives. And then subconsciously, we start to treat each other differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you were talking to me 10 years ago, I would say that your life is better than mine without knowing anything about it, because you can go to the sea and you can travel through the airport and you just have more access than I do. And for me, that would constitute having a better life than I was having. But today, we learned about each other. Whether we met each other or didn't, we're aware of what's going on, what's happening with you in Jerusalem and what's happening with you in the 48. And you're aware of what's happening in the West Bank thanks to social media and the word just going out. What we need is to come together and to have not a united front. Not all of us need to be under the same umbrella or nothing, but we need to understand the differences that we have and where each of us has a point, an advantage, a perspective that they can contribute for us to rise together. Because if your life is better in Jerusalem, my life is automatically going to be better in the West Bank, because you're going to be my voice. You're going to be my voice when I can't have a voice, and vice versa. And we do within the Palestinian community, and I'm saying Palestinian community for all of the Palestinians, regardless of what ID they hold and where they live. We have a young population that is full of potential, that is very well educated, that is eloquent, and that is powerful. And they need the space and the opportunity to rise to places of power, to represent us as Palestinians. Because the current Palestinian representation that we have does not reflect us. We did not elect the current Palestinian PA, and we most certainly did not choose to elect Hamas or have them there existing. We need the opportunity to choose and to elect who represents us. And I'm sure once we have that opportunity, we will have to create the space for ourselves to express our own needs, to decide how we move forward and how we face the occupation together. And I believe that it's not in a way to combat them or to fight, but just, get our house in order, sit at the table as equals with the people who control our fates, knowing that we are at that table as equals, and going from there. We don't want a solution, a one state, a two state, these big words that mean very little on the ground today. We want an opportunity to determine our own fate ourselves. And we certainly have the manpower to do it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think what I would add to what you asked for, which is if you're a Palestinian wherever you are, I'm not just talking to you, but I feel like when I talk or ask from Palestinians, I'm also asking from myself, is that that feeling that a 48er lives a better life than me, or I am quote unquote better than my life is better than somebody in Gaza or the West Bank because I'm from East Jerusalem, etc., is what the system wants. It is the guilt, and that guilt is basically hush money. It's for you to shut up and to stay where you are and to say, I'm not, and we talk about this a lot this season, that I'm not Palestinian enough. It's not my cause anymore. And it fragmented. And I think just to reiterate what you asked for is that we need to all understand that we're fighting the same thing. Whether it's being a second-class citizen facing systemic discrimination inside of Israel proper, or inside crime within communities, again inside of Israel proper, or facing what we face in East Jerusalem, the West Bank, Gaza, it is the same. It's the same boot on our necks. And I think even though it has different colors, it's the same boot brand.
Even if it's vegan leather.
Even if it's vegan leather, we need to understand that, and we need to support one another, and not when we hear. And I think it also needs to be in our psyche, and it needs to be in our language, in order for us. When I hear a 40, I hate using the numbers, but when I hear a Palestinian that lives inside, I want to I need to feel. We need to feel together that we're again walking the same walk. Is that when Ibrahim cries for whether it's equality or raising crime or whatever, it's me as well, and it's you as well. And in Gaza we have separated because we don't live under bombardments. We're not forced. We don't live in a forced starvation. We're not in tents, but at the same time we are. because it's happening to them now. But like you said in the beginning of the episode, it can be us. And the only thing that made us different is where our parents were, again, in a certain period of time.
And going to what you said, I'm taking that point of education not just to the international community. At the beginning of this episode, and we took a break for a second. I told Amira, it was really. She asked me how it's going so far, and it was really meaningful for me to hear your everyday experience. We don't get that. We get the social media videos. We get the grand macro image of occupation in the West Bank, but we don't understand the tangibility of it. What happens when I wake up in the morning, when I hear a siren happening outside, and I'm hearing the tanks coming to the neighborhood, and you rush outside and you pick up your cousin. We don't get those enough of these stories that are happening on the daily basis words. And I think that's also for us, that we need to be educated about each other's realities to understand that it's not a concept of he has better or worse. Just learn what they're dealing with in their reality. It's a different reality with different challenges. And we need to learn about all of them, because all of these realities are different realities of the one people, of the Palestinian people. And we need to understand all the different realities within it so we can know how to tackle all of it. And because the division is what you said, creates sometimes feelings of either guilt or comparison, resentment. I hear it from Palestinian citizens of Israel who go and study, for instance, in Nablus, who tell me, they look at me and they're not happy. There is a resentment.
It happened to me also.
That I'm there.
I studied in Al-Quds University in Abu Dis.
As an East Jerusalemite to the West Bank, and us, it's even you're living in if East Jerusalem is better than us, you're in a whole different place, and it creates feelings of resentment, and even from us, superiority. One derogatory term that is used. The one word I hate the most is ضفاوي.
Shtahim.
No,
shtahim in Hebrew.
I wish it's not even that. When we're describing, and I don't want to say we. When some people describe in my community, particularly in the north, when they talk about the West Bank, or not even when they talk about the West Bank, if I'm talking to Amira and I want to give her a derogatory term for looking. Filthy, dirty, not clean, you say ضفاوي. It's a derogatory term to describe someone who's unclean. We have used terms from us, and we've turned them into derogatory terms.
We have turned on each other.
And that breaks my heart. When I hear somebody says, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you using this word? What's wrong with ضفي? You could have been born in ضفي. It's insane that we get to that level and we're not even thinking about the words that we use and how much they affect.
That's the real tragedy, is that we're trained to subconsciously look differently at each other.
Exactly.
We share the same, almost everything. So why does this piece of ID that we have to hold, without us having a choice in it, dictate how we treat each other or look at each other?
I wrote kind of like a spoken word a few months back, and I was writing about Palestinian guilt. I was writing a lot about Palestinian guilt, and something that came up is that the powers that be drew lines to divide us, and we played hopscotch. Which is literally what happened, because when I went to as like a 17-year-old teenager going to university and not just witnessing, but experiencing raids, experiencing going through a checkpoint every single day to go to university, like all those things, understanding that electricity cuts, water cuts, like all these things. Running to a class with like tears from tear gas, like it's a different experience. It becomes yours. And then the discrimination between if a girl has a crush on a boy, she waits for him to at the cafeteria so she sees what kind of ID he has. Is it blue? Is it green?
Really?
To know that, oh, I can't marry this person because it's going to make my life difficult. My parents won't approve, blah, 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 blah. And it creates that guilt. And we need to make sure that that guilt doesn't go to superiority or resentment. And it also needs to not go to separation. The same way that a lot of Palestinians in the diaspora say that I live a happy life. I'm sufficient. I'm a doctor. I'm a teacher, whatever. And this is what, like, I want my family to be happy. And that's it. So I think like it needs to turn into taking responsibility. And what you said in the beginning when we asked you about the needs is understand where you're needed, understand what you can do, and do it. Because it was a collective effort that brought us to this point, and it will be a collective effort that gets us out of it.
And one last thing I want to say about that is you have to be ready for how uncomfortable and painful it's going to be. It's not easy, whether is it amongst Palestinians themselves or with others. Some of the best true partnerships that I have today have gone through a lot of testing, of resentment, of being truly open, of personal sacrifice, of refusing to go to the army and going to jail for it, but standing your ground because that's what you believe in, of a mother protecting another mother's children regardless of their background or their nationality because that's the right thing to do. It's painful and it's not easy and it's uncomfortable, but if we manage to do it, we will have some of the best lifelong partnerships that we could ask for that will help us build a better future.
Yara, I want to just say this episode was such a necessary conversation, and I just want to tell you that you're a gem of a human being. And I know, and I'm not just saying this to, like, I know people, like activists, hate when we're complimented, but we need to hear it. Like, what you're doing is so important. And I know it's not just you. I know it's many, many other people that are with you, behind you, standing shoulder to shoulder, in your family, outside, in Al-Khalil, in Jenin, everywhere. And I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. And for our listeners, we will have everything that Yara mentioned linked into the description. Please listen to her needs, see what you can fulfill, visit the links again, and see if you fit there, if anything resonates, and see where you can support. As always, we remind you to follow us on all social media platforms, remind you to subscribe and follow wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on and subscribe to our Patreon. We have reached here because of our supporters. We're able to have funds in order to come here to come and meet Yara in the West Bank, in Beit Jana, because of your support. And as always, we will meet you at another episode of UTTN, the podcast.